All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the most misunderstood concepts in finance and, frankly, in life: risk. We're taught from day one to avoid it, but what if I told you it's also the source of every single opportunity? Let's dive right in.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question that seems, super simple. Someone offers you an investment and it's got a 6% annual return. Is that a good deal? Your first instinct might be to say, yeah, of course. But the real answer, it's actually impossible to know.
Why? Because that number, that 6%, is totally meaningless without any context. I mean, did you get that 6% from a super safe government bond? Or did you get it by riding the roller coaster of some crazy cryptocurrency? You see, the return is only ever half the story. The other half, the part we almost always forget to ask about, is the risk.
And that brings us to our first really big idea here. We've got to completely rewire how we think about the word risk. You see, our brains are basically hardwired to hear risk and immediately think danger. But that's a dangerously incomplete picture.
Yeah, this really lays out the two sides of the coin, doesn't it? Over on the left, you've got all the scary stuff we usually think of: hazards, liability, exposure. But look at the right side. In the world of finance and innovation, risk also means venture, fortune, and a really important one: volatility.
Okay, so let's get really specific here. In the world of finance, risk is basically just another word for volatility. The more an asset's price swings up and down, the riskier we say it is. But, and this is the big but, without those ups and downs, those big swings, you literally can't get those massive returns. The potential for reward is tied directly to how much risk you're willing to take on.
All right, now let's make a really important distinction. It's between two words we throw around all the time as if they're the same thing: risk and uncertainty. They sound similar, but when it comes to making smart decisions, trust me, they are worlds apart. So think about risk as, well, the devil you know. It's any situation where you can actually calculate the odds. Like a coin toss. You don't know if it's going to be heads or tails, but you know for a fact it's a 50-50 shot. It's something you can measure.
Now, uncertainty, that's the devil you don't know. This is when the probability of something happening is a total mystery. You just can't put a number on it. Just imagine trying to guess whether a brand new, completely disruptive competitor is going to succeed. There's no data, there's no model, it's unmeasurable.
So this table just makes it crystal clear. Look at that first row. For risk, the probability is known. For uncertainty, totally unknown. And that means risk is something you can quantify while uncertainty is not. And that right there leads to a huge difference in the real world, which you can see in that last row. You can get insurance for a risk. You can't really get insurance for pure uncertainty because nobody knows how to price it. So the name of the game really is to use knowledge to turn that scary, fuzzy uncertainty into something you can actually measure: risk.
Okay, so if risk is all about math and probabilities, why are we as humans just so bad at it? Well, it turns out our brains have some pretty serious built-in biases that totally mess with our judgment. Let's do a quick thought experiment right now to see exactly how this works.
All right, scenario A. This one's all about gains. So which one do you choose? Option 1, you get $5, guaranteed. Option 2, you have a 50-50 chance of getting $10 or getting nothing. Go ahead, pick one. Most people, they take the sure thing. They'll take the $5. When it comes to gains, we're pretty risk-averse. Okay, now let's flip the script. The numbers are exactly the same, but now we're talking about losses. So what do? Option 1, you lose $5 for sure. Or option 2, a 50-50 chance you lose $10 or lose nothing at all. What's your call? So did your choice change? If you're like most people, it absolutely did. In the loss scenario, people are way more likely to roll the dice. This is something called prospect theory in action. It turns out the pain of losing something feels way more intense than the pleasure of gaining the exact same thing. So to avoid that guaranteed pain, we suddenly become gamblers. The next time you're stuck on a big decision, just stop and ask yourself, is my choice based on logic, or am I just desperately trying to avoid that gut punch feeling of a guaranteed loss?
Okay, so we've got measurable risk. We know our brains play tricks on us. But what about when something happens that is just completely off the charts? Something no model, no spreadsheet could ever predict. Well, that's when we enter the world of the black swan.
And the best way to understand this is the famous turkey analogy. So, picture this. There's a turkey. Every single day for 1,000 days, a farmer comes out and feeds it. Every single day.
So from the turkey's point of view, the data is undeniable. Humans are awesome, life is good, and tomorrow will be even better than today. And that model works perfectly, right up until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
And this brings us to the formal definition from Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the guy who made this idea famous. It's got 3 key ingredients. 1, it's a total shock. 2, it has a massive, game-changing impact. And 3, after it happens, everyone looks back and creates a story to make it seem like it was obvious all along.
Now, just think about the pandemic in 2020. For almost everyone on the planet, that felt like a textbook black swan, right? A total surprise. But what if I told you that all the way back in 2017, the World Health Organization literally published a detailed report about the high likelihood of a global pandemic caused by a coronavirus? And this is the whole point right here. What looks like a random, unthinkable black swan to one person, our turkey, is just a measurable high-impact risk to someone else who has the right knowledge. Knowledge transforms the unimaginable into the manageable.
So if the right knowledge can turn the unthinkable into the manageable, that brings us to our final and honestly most important point. How do we actually deal with all this stuff? It really all comes down to one simple but powerful word: accountability.
Let's just take the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank as a perfect case study. When the former CEO was grilled by Congress, he blamed, and I quote, a series of unprecedented events. But one senator wasn't having it, and he fired back, "You made a really stupid bet that went bad, didn't you?" And that exchange gets to the absolute heart of the matter.
See, the CEO was trying to shift the blame to his risk committee, but this is where we have to understand the huge difference between responsibility and accountability. The committee, they were responsible for doing the task of monitoring risk, but the CEO, he was accountable for the final outcome. Responsibility is about doing the work. Accountability is owning the result. You can give someone else responsibility, but you can never, ever give away your accountability. It always stops at the top.
And that is the bottom line right there. When you are staring a known, measurable risk right in the face, like, say, rising interest rates, and you actively choose not to do anything to protect yourself, that is not bad luck. That's a choice. It's a bet. Plain and simple, it's speculation.
All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. First, risk isn't just about danger. It's where all the opportunity is. Second, you have to know the difference between a risk you can measure and a true unknowable uncertainty. Third, watch out for your own brain's biases, because they will lead you astray. Fourth, just because something is low probability doesn't mean you can ignore it. Prepare for those high-impact events. And finally, and most importantly, it all comes down to accountability. You have to own your decisions and their outcomes.
So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Now that you see this difference, I want you to look at your own life, your career, your finances. Where are you letting a scary, fuzzy uncertainty paralyze you, when it might actually be a risk you can analyze and manage? And the bigger question is, what incredible opportunities might you be missing out on because of it?